the Civil Rights Commission recommended? First of all, please note, none of the recommendations had anything to do with any other religion except Christianity. We are not talking the regulation of religion. Regulation of religion is a misnomer as a topic. The Civil Rights Commission is not interested in regulating religion. None of the recommendations to Parliament had anything to do with any other religion except Christianity. In a country where 78% of people claim to be Christian, we cannot be silent on that. There is not a single recommendation that had to do with regulating Islam, Hinduism, Baha'ism, secular humanism. Don't forget that we have a lot of religions other than Christianity. But we have a lot of other cults besides mainstream Christianity. Scientology, Jehovah's Witness, Mormonism, none of them had anything to do with that. So anybody who stands to say we are taking regulation of religion is actually lying. They are not interested in regulating religion. They want to regulate Christians. But this is how they want to do it. The Civil Rights Commission says, one, change the CRL Rights Commission's Act, change it. Yeah, because the Act does not give us powers. As a matter of fact, in February this year, in Pretoria, the ex-commissioner, actually said in an open meeting, an interfaith meeting, we want the same powers as the public protector. They were saying that. The CR Rights Act gives them the responsibility to promote and to protect cultural, religious, and linguistic rights. That's all the authority they have. That is the commission any of us can go to and say, look, my language is not well marketed. There is not enough presentation of Africans on South African TV. That commission. You should say, but look, I look at my culture, it's nowhere. I mean, you have all this heritage there, you have all this, but my culture is not. They exist only solely. And their main responsibility is educating people on the sensitivity of upholding other people's cultural, religious, and linguistic rights. They'll say, no, change the act. Give us power. What power do they want? Here is the power they want. They will say, we want power to control the church. It's in black and white. And this is how they want to control the church. We want every church to be registered, every assembly. There's a problem with that. Because there are secret churches, and they have a right to be secret. You have a right to be secret. We call them in the townships Kereketas P again. What do you call them in Zulu? You don't have those secret churches that meet at night, and before you get into the room you give certain codes and they accept you and they only meet at night. No, it's long before Nigeria. My parents belonged to that church in the 60s. My father was one of the priests. Yeah, you don't wear the uniform out in public. You go private. Where you meet, there is a place for women and men. You change into the uniform and you wear the gown that the spirit showed you in your dream. They've been around for 50, 60 years. And every one of us is dressed differently according to how the spirit told you the design of your garment and all that. But then only members are allowed. When you go to the loop, when you come back, you can't just come back into the same, because they have to ensure that you are the same person. They ask you some codes. No, I'm being honest with you. No, we have to understand what is happening. I grew up in that, we have to understand. They ask you. And what are the witnesses of man? Okay? You will say this and this. Okay, what are the witnesses of God? Yeah, and what are the witnesses of the Spirit? No, it's a code, it's a certain language. They teach you that language. And then the last question is, who's your shepherd? You must say, my conscience, and then they let you in. Those churches, according to the Constitution, have a right to exist. Because the Constitutional Court ruled in 1998 that it does not matter how bizarre, it does not matter how strange, how unconventional, or how unusual any church practice is, any religious practice is, if nobody is harmed, there is nothing illegal going there, there's nothing unlawful there, the Constitution says they have a right to operate. Okay? So we said those churches have a right not to want to be registered. But not only that, even in the Western culture, there are secret society. The Masons did not come with democracy. And my father was mixed up. My father belonged to the Masons. We used to call them Temple. Remember Temple in the townships? Our parents went to Church of England, Methodist Church, Dutch Reform, and in the afternoon Sunday, they went to the temple. The temple had these separate garments with all those insignia, this Freemason insignia there. You had different lodges, first lodge, third lodge. We call them secret society because they have a right to be secret. So when you say all churches, all religious organizations must be registered, you are violating the right to practice their religion secretly. And the second recommendation was every preacher must be qualified from specific institutions that the state will approve. You know where that's going again. They're not concerned about anything except what we teach. And they'll never give you that license as a preacher if you don't subscribe to interfaith. He's been interfaith all his life in the new democracy. As a matter of fact, the majority of your key regulation of religion proponents are in the interfaith. He's co-chairing the NLM for years, which is a forum where Hindus, Sangomas, and Muslims and they meet. But let's wait, we'll hear where we're going here. They say now every church must be registered. That's a violation. You don't have to be registered to be a church. You don't have to. Because Jesus says where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'm in their midst. The church is not a building, the church is an organization. And how can a secular state determine what makes a church? Those are the things we're fighting against. And then, every church and registered preacher, the preacher must get a license which is renewable periodically. That means from time to time your license expires like a driving license. And you have to appear where they question if you're still. But listen to me, if they send you to a recognized institution, it's obvious that they were going to cut out all those Bible colleges that preach the Lordship of Christ. They're going to recognize those who preach interfaith. There are different ways to God. But you know that's what it's saying. That's what interfaith is all about. You can't be dogmatic about Christ being the way. There are other ways. So if they determine where you train, they determine how you qualified, then they start monitoring you. And if they're not impressed with what you preach, when your license comes up for renewal, they reject it. That's what the regulation is. And they say the churches must belong to mandatory to umbrella bodies. You know that's a violation of the Constitution because they have freedom of association. And freedom of association is not a religious right, it's a human right. Everybody in society can belong where they want to belong. And everyone in society can choose not to belong. And when they say it's a must, you shall belong to an umbrella body, they are violating your constitutional right to freedom of association. Imagine if a place like Newcastle, you said, look, if you're not enough fraternal, you can't be a preacher. Fraternities are fellowships. They're not legal bodies. It's brotherly fellowship, you know. But they'll determine what those umbrella bodies are. Okay? And they say, listen to me, those umbrella bodies must belong to peer review committees. Now that's where the trouble starts. Because the peer review committee that they recommended is an interfaith peer review committee. What this means, brothers and sisters, is the recognition of your church, okay, your congregation, the church belongs to Jesus. The recognition of your congregation, the recognition of your qualification and suitability to be a preacher will be at the mercy of a council where a Muslim, a Hindu, a traditional healer, a Scientology, yeah, because that's what they've been recommending. That the peer review committees cannot be purely Christian or purely Muslim, no. That's where other religions feature. There is no talk of any other religion being regulated until they are the ones licensing you. That means basically, you come, your license is up, and you are coming up for review, and in that committee is sitting a Muslim there, a Hindu there, a Baha'ist, a secular humanist, a Darwinist, evolutionist. It's a council of new ages. Just imagine what questions are going to ask you that will determine if you should get your license or not. Now, what do you think, my brother, about homosexuality there? No, the Bible says it's sin. They look at each other and they tick. Could there be other ways to God? No, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. They tick. So that means now an interfaith committee, not Jesus, is the one calling you to ministry. Those are the recommendations. And they're saying, above all that, there should be the Civil Rights Commission to manage and to control all church-related affairs. So, if you have any objection, the Civil Commission will decide if you are fit to be a preacher or not, if your congregation should operate or not. Let me remind you what happened in Tanzania. What happened in Tanzania, they've regulated the church there. You must have heard that. They are saying for any congregation to get a license. Are we at Grace Community Church? For Grace Community Church to be recognized as a true religious organization in Tanzania, you must have 100,000 members. You know what is that doing? They are forcing you into an umbrella body. A group of you must come together to muster 100,000 membership. And for your membership to be renewable, to be considered annually, you have to pay $6 to the government. 90 times 100,000. You do your math there. Where is Grace Family Church, Community Church going to get 9 million every year to keep registered? Only if it belongs to an umbrella body. Now, we hear that Rema is something like 40,000 people. Not even they will qualify. So that means they are forcing to be one big group to survive. You know that Parliament has repeatedly refused to increase the Civil Rights Commission's budget. That's why they want to make money. So the church must keep a state organ alive. Besides, the church being a non-governmental organization, they're taking away your NGO status. Because if you have to give revenue regularly to the government, that's taxation. Parliament said that's unworkable. Parliament says no, that could never work. Because we can't change the Civil Rights Commission's Act without changing the Constitution. The Constitution can be changed, but there must be case for change. And they said you have not developed enough case for change, so that's unworkable. Two, it's unnecessary. For every error you have pointed out with the church, there is a state organ to deal with it. You are saying there are foreigners. Whatever makes anybody a foreigner in Africa is another topic for another day. There are foreigners. But that's not a civil rights problem, it's a home affairs problem. Or you say there are human rights violations, that's a human rights commission problem. You say there is crime in the church, that's an SAPS problem. You say there's organized crime, the Hawks. Every problem you have brought up, there is already a state organ, so it's unnecessary. By the third fact, it's unconstitutional. It violates the constitution. So the parliament kicked them out and said the only thing we can recommend you do is go back to the religious community. Don't interfere with the process, recommend the process and don't interfere with it. Let the churches or the religions come on their own and on a voluntary basis, let them come with some code of conduct, on a voluntary and non-binding, because don't forget, you can't come with a code of conduct and bind people because people have a right not to submit to anybody they don't feel comfortable with. That was the last time the parliament said, we're dealing with this matter. Since then, this matter has never been tabled at parliament. But there were churches in 2017 who had serious objections about the direction the Civil Commission were making. And when the Civil Rights presented its report to Parliament in October, a lot of churches came and objected. So, but what is interesting is when Parliament says, go and talk to the religious sector, and the Civil Rights Commission ignored those churches that went to Parliament to object. And they tea and coffee with Ray McCauley and appointed him the convener of the religious forum to discuss. Yeah. Now, in a democratic society, what right do they have to choose among the religious groups Ray McCauley? Subsequently, Ray McCauley chose his spiritual son, Musa Solo, to chair the committee. Now, I don't know my math, but if we're 55 million and 78% of us are Christian, what is the possibility, the probability that both the convener and the chairman of a democratically elected task team would be from the same congregation? What is 78% of 55? Far more than 40 million. In a country of 40 million Christians, if you drew ahead 40 million names, what is the probability that 2 IFCC members would be convener and chairman? None. That is why we've said part of the problem is that task team that met at Rema, that is meeting again in October, is unconstitutional. It's undemocratic. It's just an interest group. It has no status. And we're not bound by its decisions. We're not bound by its resolutions. If they go there and come with a code of conduct, it binds their members, not the rest of us. So as things stand now, there was a meeting that took place at Rema, okay, from the hand-picked task team by the Civil Rights Commission. And they tried to call preachers. 800, I hear that 800 leaders around the country came there. And the first thing the leaders did, they told the Civil Commission to excuse itself from the meeting. They said, you don't want state involvement here. Two, they rejected a civil rights written code of conduct. That means, at that time, meeting on the 13th of February, the Civil Rights Commission went out there with a code of conduct they had written and given to Ray McCauley and Musa Solo. Let the church sign this. In terms of reference, now you know that any government-instituted process is a government-owned process. Any state-instituted process is a state-owned process. They were dictating contrary to the recommendations of Parliament. They were dictating how the process should go. So the people who gathered there, they rejected it. They said, we don't want it. When they kicked Kaluva out, the ex-commissioner, she was angry. The same way she was angry when Parliament kicked their recommendations out. Remember? You remember when Parliament said, these are unworkable, these are unnecessary, these are unconstitutional. Remember that? She threatened to take Parliament to the Constitutional Court. She was angry. And she's never done that. In the same way, when the churches said, get out of this meeting, because the people who showed up there were unexpected. They kicked her out. She went 2 weeks later to an interfaith movement meeting in Pretoria, where the interfaith community, Muslims, Hindus, witch doctors, traditional leaders, healers and all, they said the church shall be regulated whether the church likes it or not. That is just a glimpse of the future. If we say yes to regulation, even self-regulation. We are saying there's nothing wrong with us. Look, you are under an obligation to come here. Why did you come? We are not your chairpersons. We are not your conveners. But you came. That's what binds the church, not the laws of men. The church is bound by a biblical code. We cooperate, we do things without state involvement. We don't need any laws to bind us. We don't need any laws for us to fellowship. We're saying leave the church the way it is. Leave it as it is. They're saying to us, you are rejecting regulation. What you put on the table says, we don't even see any table. Leave us the way we are. There's nothing wrong with religion. That needs to be fixed. You can't walk into my lounge and say, I don't like the setting here. This table shouldn't be here. I said, hey, leave my furniture alone. And you say to me, okay, fine. If you don't want this table on that corner, where should it be? That's what they're saying to us. They came into church, they said there's something wrong with church. And now, we say there's nothing wrong with church, okay, fine. What better place we have? There are no plans on the table. Refuse, brothers and sisters, refuse even self-regulation. Leave us the way we are. We have our own bodies we belong to voluntarily. We have our own churches we belong to voluntarily. We have our own associations and fraternals voluntarily. Leave us there. We have nothing. We are putting nothing on the table. Amen. We reject regulation, and we see self-regulation as if you don't see that way, there's something wrong with it. I mean, self-regulation has regulation in it. What are submissions? Our submissions are one. The church belongs to Christ. Leave it there. 2. Why are you singling out the church? 3. From other religions. 3. If regulation worked, the most perfect organ in society should be politics. If you sit for 30 minutes and watch the proceedings on the Zondo Commission, you know that the regulation will never work. Politics is regulated. Parliament is regulated. Look at the filth that is coming out in the commission there. If a political regulation system set over politics cannot work for politics, how do we trust politics to use regulation to straighten the church out? Look at the confusion coming out there. Look at the filth coming out there. Leave us be. We are saying, stick to the recommendations of Parliament. Parliament said this thing will never work. Don't flog a dead horse. Now we hear that they're coming, they've contacted us, they want to talk to us. They sent a representative and I had coffee with him and some restaurant, and they're pleading with us to consider. They say now the voice of the anti-regulation has grown proportionally. We're asking you, since we have now influence, consider this alternative recommendation. We said, no, we're not. We went to Albertine, And as an interest group, we came up with our code of conduct. We call it the Albertine Declaration. Okay? We shall give you a copy. And I hope the Secretariat is circulating a register. Put your WhatsApp number there and your email. We are binding ourselves to this, and maybe at the end we shall read it. These are voluntary code of conduct. We won't do anything illegal. We won't violate anyone's human rights. We won't do all that. And besides that, we are offering nothing. We are resolute on one fact. There's nothing wrong with the church that it should be regulated. We're going to be hearing different speakers now on why we think that stance is valid. We are saying there is no way within the state or within government where regulation is discussed right now. That's why we can't take them to court, because there's nothing on the table. There's nothing to challenge in court. Because officially, the last time this matter was brought before the state, Parliament rejected it. They're trying to revive it and bring it through the back door. We saw a newspaper report where Ray McCauley say after they've drawn their code of conduct in October, they're going to submit it to Parliament for approval. What for? Every time they open their mouths, one deceptive word comes out there. Brothers and sisters, we maintain that it has nothing to do with grass eating. As I said to you earlier, Namibia, the matter is with Parliament. Namibia is a hero of South Africa now, because the bill is already drawn and regulated the church. Nobody made anybody eat grass in Rwanda. Nobody made anyone, okay, everybody makes everybody eat meat in China. The church is regulated. This is a new age agenda to destroy the influence of the Christian church of the Bible. It's a 10-point plan of the United Nations. Self-interfere. Remove parental control from children and make the state the parent. Destroy the traditional family. Those are the 10 points. And sell homosexuality. Make sex free. And if sex is free, make abortion free. Those are the points. Make divorce cheaper and more accessible. And when you've done all this, the 10th point says, sell the idea to the church and let the church endorse it. Why? Because around the world, the church is the biggest non-governmental organization. We say no to regulation of religion. Let me stop here, because there are other speakers. Now, thank you. I don't know, we'll throw it out to you. Do you want us to go to the end of the program to ask questions? Or do you want to ask questions per session? What do you want to do? What is suggesting? Okay. Okay, we have a second mic here. Let's take questions for 10 minutes because the other speakers are coming. Pastor Mbula? Yeah, that's the roving mic. Okay, we can use this one, we can use the same one. Okay, let somebody come. What is Gini doing? Let's get some youngster here. Tabo, where's Tabo? Oh, you're here, okay. Okay, other questions, and then let's take 3 at a time.
Baba, as a Bantu education student, I want to start first, Baba.
Yes, sir.
Baba, before you talk, we accept this vision. Because we are people of God, we go spiritually.
Yeah.
You are supposed to give us papers to sign. Yeah. CRL Commission came first in Cape Town. I was there in Cape Town for 8 years. To Great Commission Ministers Network is the biggest fraternal in Cape Town. Yeah. Yes, they told our president, I don't want to say the name. And then he went, they took him, because he's an old man, they put him in the hotel there with his wife, then they signed. They thought we will sign, we rejected. So I want to say it's not only Parliament who rejected this CRN, it's all Cape Town. The commission is the biggest in Cape Town, and you can't get in even to make whatever tent there, because there are people who are washing, calling them the watchers. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say, Baba, this thing is simple and straightforward, Baba. It doesn't need any metric. We need to stand up. We need to stand up because now, as I'm stating here, our president, before he get into the office, he went to court through public protector. So you tell me, if our president is going to be in court mostly, it's better if Zuma, because Zuma get to court in the 9th year. So the state is in trouble. And if we, as a Christian, as a man of God, we really sit down, we'll be in trouble. So I suggest that bring us the paper to write down.
But that's a simple fact. It's a simple fact. The state is in no position to be concerned with the affairs of the church in any capacity. Show me any sphere of society more regulated than government, than politics. But look at the field that is coming out there. Okay? Second question or comment?
Thank you, sir. My question is, you made it very clear. My name is Pastor Clifford Newcastle. You made it very clear that the government is not actually the problem. Now, who is actually the problem? Who is the problem? Who is it that we are faced with? Who is the Goliath?
There are two questions. There are two culprits. One, power-hungry preachers, who coincidentally happen to be a lot of mega church preachers. Now you should understand there's an element of personal threat. That they see your so-called small churches much more. They have brought it up. That you fold our arms and see churches pop up at any corner. We said we thought you'd be excited over there. It's an opportunity for more power. And that is why in every city we have gone, the biggest proponents of regulation are big churches. Yeah. Show me one guy from the small church community in regulation, and I will retract my statement. None. And it's not coincidental that Togo Kaluva went to them. It's not coincidental. The second culprit, the Civil Rights Commission. We don't know, a new commission started in June now. Okay? And the professor, the new chairperson, said something stupid to the newspaper. That no, we don't want to regulate, we want to regulate into people. How do you regulate people? You know what I was trying to say? There are those preachers. They don't like what they say. That's you and I who believe in the Lordship of Christ, the sanctity of the church, the sanctity of marriage. That's us. We believe in heterosexual marriages. We don't believe in sex. Those are the guys they want to regulate. They want to clamp us down. You must be clever. They say, no, we're not interested in regulating religion. So they're saying to the church people, it's divide and rule. We're not concerned about you, we're concerned about your pastors. If they shut us up, the messengers, what have they done to the message? Parliament was very clear. Your recommendations are unworkable, unnecessary and unconstitutional. And Parliament closed the book on that. Those are the culprits.
Asibonge kakhulu kuwena baba ngokusinika this powerful insight. uSteve Biko uthi the most powerful weapon in the hands of the oppressor is their minds. So all I'm saying ukuthi uhulumeni nalale genge lena badlala ngathi, and siyabonga ukuthi usichazisele ngale ndlela, because information enje yenza ukuthi sivuleka amehlo. That is all I can say. Thank you. Sibusiso Njangasa, Newcastle.
Okay, next question.
That's clear.
Sanibonani.
Yes, sir.
Angisale sengisho nami igama ngingakusekela kuzo. Ngumuzi makude khona la eNewcastle. Thank you very much ngokuthi uyendlale kanje lento ngoba I think into eyenza abantu bathathe noma yini abayizwayo is either misinformation noma a lack of information. So information is power. Your background has given us information necessary enough for us. Ukuthi phambi kuhulumeni sithi this is our stance. But without this information, we wouldn't have known phakathi kwethu if there are people who are for or anti. But with this information, akulula ukwenza decision otherwise, unless you don't believe in God and in His word as supreme. Now, out of more than 200, out of more than 200 religions in the world, only 3 who's the imagine I know possess sacred scriptures. And out of the 3 that possess the sacred scriptures, there are 2 that possess sacred scriptures that are said to be the word of God. And out of the 2, there is only 1 where the word of God remains the word of God in any language on the face of the earth. Teach them and see what would happen. I mean those who do not possess this premise. But now they come to us to neutralize us. Because some of us sold the church through hunger and through power. Nazo zonke izinto, but it's one of those things. I would have said, if there is something to sign, I would have signed. But I want to justify the issue of information. That before we sign, let us collect as much information as possible. The last thing, can we not try to answer any question out there? Because we are not explainable to anyone.
Definitely.
Yes, can do just like Jesus, and the Pharisees, to say if you believe in the resurrection of the dead or you don't believe, your approval and disapproval means nothing. For this cause I came on earth. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Oh, okay, that's the last taking, and then get the others that and we shall the church.
No, umuntu akabingelele basalwane. Umfundisi uhlophe ungumvele igama ngibuya kwaMasha. Number 1, umuntu akabonge i-platform uFacebook ukuthi akwazi ukuhlangana nababukoti, because lento bengeke izifinyelele thina. One must admit ukuthi you are still far. Durban is the hub to destroy the church. So when you are here in Newcastle, these are just highlights. Go to Durban and you will see the danger that you are trying to avoid. Durban is the hub. I think more than Joburg is.
Yes.
Maybe you haven't noticed that yet. Maybe let's go to Durban go to Durban. Not only Durban CBD. And let us mobilize people, leaders from remote areas. Like I told you, Shimi, that these guys go behind closed doors into these remote areas to mobilize the leaders there. Why? They know which these leaders are illiterate. They take everything they say, because it's cool, they take it and run with it. Before you know it, the fire is so much and uncontrollable. So there is a lot more to do than what we are doing here. It's very good that we are here and we've got the meat now. But can we extend the program before it's too late? Thank you so much.
Hey, okay, we welcome Pastor Doc Stolen and Umam Lab and Pastor Malafani, welcome you. Right now we're going to have a presentation by Coach Sipumi Akini. He's going to give a biblical perspective why we say no, okay? And he'll also give us some historical perspective, you know. Let's give him a hand as he comes.
I'm a very important speaker. Normally, I get protocol to introduce me because I carry a heavy weight. That was a joke. Can I ask just, I don't know if I can get assistance to get that chair so that I can sit on it, because the Bible says Jesus sat down. You remember, the Bible says Jesus sat down and he taught them, so thanks, brother. So why not do what Jesus did? I'll be very brief. I think Prashimi gave a very powerful summary of why we are holding the position that we are holding. I'm sitting here trying to think, what can I say that he has not said? And so, I might not say anything. But what he said, I'm just here to tell you, what he said is what we are signing. I want to, 5 minutes, address the scriptural basis of our stand. It's difficult to address a scriptural base because we differ. I mean, there are many areas where we differ. We are here, all of us are Christians. So I need to be very careful. But we are here to nail our colors to the mast. We are here to say, we as a generation, we have a stand. This is our stand. Some people say regulation will happen. We say it won't happen. But if it happens, we said no to it. Our children will ask, what did you do when the church was being regulated? We'll tell them, we drove to Newcastle. Yes. We drove to Alberton. We drove to Bloemfontein. We are driving to Durban. Using our resources, because this is a battle that's too much to ignore. We are rejecting the capture of the church. I think I'm going to use the language of the capture of the church today. It will be easily understood under the present circumstances. In the book of 2 Corinthians 2, Jesus speaks about forgiveness. He says we must forgive each other so that the devil doesn't find a place. And then he says a powerful phrase. He says, for we are not ignorant of his devices. He says, we are not ignorant. We know how he operates. And so while they go around and they say, no, we just bring in order, we know how he operates. No, we want to get rid of these foreign preachers. We know how he operates. He doesn't come and he says, I want to capture you. No. He comes and he says, I want to give you land. I'll tell you now that my mother leads a church that my father left. And they are being called to meetings in Guatemala. And they are told in those meetings that if you want land from the government, you must be part of this organization. My mother is old, so she believes them. So I tell her that no, there's no such. No, they want everybody to be registered. Why? Why do they are saying they want to regulate individuals? I'm regulated. 7210195387 that's my ID number. I'm regulated. The government knows where I am. Everything I do, they know. What else do they want? Now they want to regulate me when I'm in the corner praying to my God that they don't believe in. So, this is capture in action. I think there are two things that they're trying to do. We know his devices. So I want to say, we are looking at this thing and we know what they're doing. You know when you know. When you know, sometimes it's hard to explain to some people, but when you know, you know. Two things they want to do. One, they want us to surrender the authority of preaching to a committee. Look, what did Jesus say in Matthew chapter 28, verse 20? He says, all authority is given to me. Let's stop there. Which means anything he says after that doesn't need any committee. It doesn't need any forum. There's no discussion. Because all authority is given unto me. Therefore, who sent us? They want to tell us you need to have a degree to preach. Whoa. All authority is given unto me. Therefore, whether you have a degree or not, your preaching is not commissioned by your degree. It has to be commissioned by one on whom all authority is. So when Jesus said all authority is given unto me, go, he was giving us a license, a certificate, permission, a mandate to preach. There's a song that we used to sing that says, Kimurena Jesu, Yaridu Meleti, Yaridu Meleti, Puta Maisa Efanche. Exactly. We preach because we have permission to. And we don't want to live in a land where the government must give us permission. I know there are people with permissions, licenses to preach. It's okay. You can use that to get into the hall. But the permission to preach, Christ gave me permission. So two things they want to do. One, they want us to outsource the authority to give permission to a committee, which is not bad when you think about it. But when you look at the ramifications later on, of course, I'm willing, if you are in the committee, I'm willing to say, because some preachers are really rotten. Am I telling the script now? Truth is, there are preachers who are making it hard for people to believe in preachers. So, if there's one or two Christian preachers who want to say to me, okay, you are sent, we agree, but let's look at this way. Let's guide you this way, it's good. But all of a sudden, there's a chairperson of the Muslim Judicial Council, a chairperson of the Traditional Healers of South Africa, a chairperson of the Hindu organization. All those guys will meet one day and decide if I should preach or not. All authority was given to one who gave me the permission. The second thing they want to do, I think they want to silence us. One, they want us to outsource. Two, they want to silence us. How do they silence us? He's already mentioned it. When you read that code of conduct that was rejected, that they wrote, I'm going to quote one part of it. It says, I commit as a religious leader not to say things that are offensive. It sounds good. It's democratic. Yeah, my comrade, we must not say things that are offensive to other people, but the gospel is offensive in nature. You're telling me to keep quiet. The gospel is offensive. The gospel finds a man and a woman who are not married, who are living together, and the gospel says to them, hey, you are living in sin. That's offensive. The gospel by its nature is offensive. So if you tell me not to be offensive, you're telling me to shut up. Why don't you tell the listener not to be offended? I think that's a play. Instead of telling me not to be offensive, tell them not to be offended. I watch Generations, I watch Isizalo. Well, I don't, I'm just saying. These are things that people watch. I don't have time. Well, I don't have time to be on TV. When they speak on Generations, I'll never be offended. Like you can never hear me running around saying, in Generation, they say Kaizer Chiefs is my banner. I don't care, I move on with my life. If you don't like what you hear, move. Don't hinder me in saying what my faith is saying. Because all we are doing is saying what our faith is saying. The Bible says, okay, I'm not anointed to continue. There are people anointed to say anything. I'm not anointed to say what I wanted to say now. The last thing I want to say is this. I'm just throwing a question here. Okay, let me start. Why don't you want to be regulated? You're hiding something. Let's put this out. How many of you want to live in a land where the police can knock in your house and search without a warrant? No one. Why? What are you hiding? Exactly. Because they're saying, why don't you want to be regulated? You're hiding. I'm hiding nothing. But no police will knock in my house without a warrant. I'm hiding nothing, but I'm protecting a right of association, a right of privacy. If somebody suspects that I'm doing something illegal, don't regulate me, report me. It's all the R's, you don't have to go far. Don't regulate, report. I think this is a battle worth fighting. We are fighting for a right to associate or not to associate. We are fighting for a right not to surrender our authority to a committee. And finally, we want our children to know we did not bow.
Yes.
We want our children to know we did not allow the church to be captured. I think you put it so well. There's nothing else I can say on top of what you said. There's nothing wrong with the church. If it's crime, call the police. If it's illegal, call Home Affairs. If it's abuse of human rights, call the Human Rights Commission. Your job, CRM, is to promote and protect my right to say the offending things. Thank you.
No, Coach, you are powerful. Quickly, Pastor Marufani. Historical perspective, can we look back and see where in the past, throughout church history, can we look back and find any maybe good examples of how regulation worked and all that? Where we've been as a church and as a people.
Good afternoon, Bazalwane. I said it sometime during the week that we shouldn't even be discussing a regulation of religion in this country. There shouldn't even have been the anti-regulation movement. This whole thing shouldn't even have been on the table. I said it that when it was first mentioned by the CR Commission and brought to the church, the leaders, or those that we call fathers in the kingdom, those we call apostles, those we call prophets, those we call established ministers, they should have rejected it there and there. They should have said, leave the church of God alone. The church of God can never be on sale. And let me just quote a few things that have been said. Sometime last year, Mr. Kaluva said with traditional healers, the Sangomas, in a meeting. It's there. You can go read. It's there. And she said to them, do not allow government to dictate to you. These people that are coming up with laws to regulate you as traditional healers, you should go to them and say, you cannot control us, you cannot dictate to us, you can never regulate us, you can never bring those laws to us. She was stating that to traditional healers. And then she comes to the church and she says to religious leaders, you must be regulated. And we have men of God who say yes to that. The very woman who said, if anyone says God speaks to them, that person is mad. That person must be confined to a mental institute and have their head examined. And she comes to our religious leaders and she says to them, we need to build regulation. And they sit down with her and they believe that. We've been saying this, it is not just the regulation of religion that you're facing here. It is the regulation of the church. It is an attempt to silence the voice of the church. Pastor Bude said it, Coach has said it. The voice that speaks about homosexuality, that's us. The voice that speaks about abortion, that's us. Actually, I wrote something during the week because your religious leaders, your fraternities, your groups, the SACC and the other ones, I said we take the blame as the church for the moral decay in our society. That's what they say. They said we take the blame as the church. They met with the president and said we take the blame as the church. And I say to them, the church did not legalize abortion. The church did not legalize same-sex marriages. The church did not lower the age of consent where a child, a 13-year-old, can go to a clinic and ask for contraceptives without the parent. The church did not do all those things. We spoke against them. We said that, see, we rejected all those things. And we cannot bring it to the church and say, the church is guilty of moral decay. That's what it is. The church has been persecuted. Christians are going underground because of regulation. We see all these human rights abuses that are happening in China. They're not even reported. Remember, South Africa is part of BRICS. South Africa trades with China, and they're going to be silent on all these abuses that are happening in China. The church is being persecuted. Christians are being persecuted in China. Regulation in Rwanda. Churches are being demolished. We can never come back and say, look, let's allow regulation because we want to deal with false prophets. We want to all deal with all these people. And I'm going to ask you again, listen to this. Sin is not a crime. Sin is not necessarily a crime. Homosexuality within the South African constitution is not a crime. Being homosexual is not a crime. Eating dog meat in church is not a crime. Selling water in church is not a crime. Selling salt and oils is not a crime. Do I believe in those things? Well, those things are nonsense. That's how I feel. But it's not a crime. You are not breaking any law. So you cannot come and say, we have to regulate the church because people are selling water in the church. We have to regulate the church because people are selling all these things in the church. I said, the greatest abuse, and I'm done, the worst abuses have been happening in the houses of traditional healers than in the church. The worst forms of abuses. Let me talk to you as a black man who has experienced every cultural abuse one can think of. I have razor cuts on my skin. Everyone must have razor cuts. Sabama came home. They lined us up. We were cut. Rub something black in there. same razor was used. Nothing was sterilized. After that, they said, get into the bath. From the oldest to the youngest, you change water. The oldest went in, and I happened to be the second youngest, so there were about 8 people who go in the bath before me. And when I spoke about this, somebody said, I have my finger cut off because of culture. And someone said, I have cuts on my skins because of culture. Why, if we are talking about the CRL, cultural, they have to protect them from cultural, religious and linguistic community. Why are they not saying about anything about these cultural practices? At least when you come to church, I give you water. At least you know that it's tap water. At least you know that it's oil. But when you go to the house of someone, they give you a concoction. You don't even know what that is. And they say, go drink some more paita. They should be more concerned about those things. But no, they are not. Because they want to silence the church. They want to silence us as Christians. And don't fall into a trap of self-regulation. Don't fall into that, Bazarani. I said, okay, let's self-regulate. Let's have peer review processes and all that. And I asked the question, and I said, I just thought, Bazarani, I love asking questions. I said, Pastor Rimekoli, you, I mean, he has a lot of money, and he's a pastor. He had a lot of money. And I said, you earn a salary of executives. And I said, you used to live in Durban and travel to Joburg, fly to Joburg every week. Your house is a multi-million rent house. You live a very, and at some point you use the church credit card to pay for a very expensive bottle of wine. You remember that? And I said, okay, I'm a pastor of a small church. I think maybe that's why I'm so vocal about this whole relationship. I said, I travel between 3 churches at some point. We have a church in Bethel, I'll go visit them. We have a church in Val, I'd go to them, I'd go drive to Soweto, and all these things. I don't take anything from the church. No church pays me. I don't even take a cent from the church. I use from my own expenses. And I said, I don't take anything from the church. I don't use all, I don't sell all these things. I don't. Between you and I, who really needs to be regulated here? Let us be honest, who needs to be regulated? If regulation was fair, you shouldn't even be on that committee. I should have been on that committee. We must be regulating you and say, But you see, this is a group of men who want power. They want control. Hence the words, the same words that are used by the CRL, churches mushrooming. Those are the same words that are used by Bishop Solomon, churches mushrooming. Those are the same words that are used by Pastor Remeko, churches mushrooming. They use the same language, churches mushrooming. Let them mushroom, that's what we want. Let them mushroom. And I believe the Lord speaks, and I believe that the Lord said to me a couple of weeks back, he said the biggest church, the biggest mega church is not going to be a church that has thousands under one roof. But it's going to be it's going to be the one that has thousands scattered everywhere in small groups. That's going to be the biggest church. If you check history around where there's regulation, there are abuses. Human rights, gross human rights abuses. Where there's regulation, the voice of the church is silenced. Let us not, history should never judge us as a generation that kept quiet when the church of God was under attack. Let us be remembered as a generation that said, Coach Sipo said it, let us be remembered as a generation that said no to regulation of religion. And we stand fast that we are going to fight. We are going to fight with everything we have, and we are resolutely saying there will be no regulation of church in this country. And let's stand together as the church. Amen.
Wow. Towards the end, we shall give you the way forward, what we think should be happening. And I'm going to ask last two speakers. Just to give you a word of endorsement, Pastor Rex comes from far. He comes from south or north of Limpopo. Just give him a hand as he comes. He's a preacher of the Lord. And
My father, my father.
Even, what a surprise. Okay, I will greet you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I don't know whether I'm speaking because I'm coming from far or because of yeah, or because I'm of my belief. But something that is in my heart this morning, it's when there was an attempt to regulate the church in the book of Acts, you know, and there's a guy called Gamaliel, you know. He said there were many famous people, you know. He named them. He said there was Judas who came, he was known, you know, and then his movement came but died, you know, and then he says it was in a council where Peter and John were arrested. They were appearing in Jerusalem, and then he says to the council, he says, if what they are doing is of human origin, it will die. But if it's of God, you will find yourself fighting God himself. Leave this man alone and let them go. And as part of endorsement today, I want to say, we wish they can leave us alone. We wish they can leave us alone. Because what we are doing is not of human origin. It's God himself, like Coach Nyagenya said, that it's God himself that has called us. And nobody can ever stand before us. You know, Christ says in Matthew 16, he says, upon this rock I will build my church. Amen. And no gates of hell will prevail against it. Amen. And we want to stand on those words and say, upon the revelation that Jesus Christ is the rock, the church shall be built. And lastly, as I am sitting down, I'm also reminded there in the book of Acts chapter 4, where Peter and John, they were always in trouble. You know. And now, people say to them, they are asking themselves questions. And I think it's verse 13. The Bible says, when they looked at them, and they realized that they were unschooled men, they were untrained men, and they said, but something they saw is that they have been with Jesus. Says their requirement of preaching the gospel was not the fact that they were schooled. It was because they have been with Jesus. They had an encounter with Jesus. And for that fact, hence, it's not because they've got a degree. It's not because they own a mega church. It's not because they are known in Jerusalem, in Judea and Samaria. But it's because they have been with Jesus. And for the fact that we are with Jesus, that is a mandate enough for us to refuse the regulation of the church. And we are saying anything that looks like a regulation, we are saying no to it.
We're about to have an open discussion before we close the meeting. Two things remain. Pastor Doc, please come up here. And we're very passionate about this. And we come to go out there to talk to anyone who cares to listen. And part of the problem is, what is the devil has over church people is he's always talking. Satan never keeps quiet about things that matter to him. And he'll never stop participating in things that advance his kingdom. But we have to overcome the passivity by which church engages or disengages from societal threats and challenges. A lot of people have said to us, why don't you just preach truth and shut up? You know? Why don't you do that? Somebody said to me, you are fighting prophecy. I said, what do you mean I'm fighting prophecy? He says, nobody does prophesy that the church shall be persecuted. I said, but then, surely Paul did not see that. He would not have made an appeal to Caesar.
Yeah.
And Christ did not see that because he could not have said, or he would not have said, when they bring you before their councils, don't worry about what you say because the Spirit shall tell you. We know that God mandated the Jews to return to Jerusalem to rebuild that. Remember that? Ezra, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel, Joshua. And they made appeals to the king when their mission was sabotaged and under attack. Able to keep it to themselves is not going to help us. We have far less represented religions as out of South Africa whose voice is louder. How did we have a Muslim prayer room in every airport in South Africa when there are less than 1 million Muslims in South Africa? How did we? Because when it comes to issues of Islam, they won't keep quiet. If they're talking about crime in the church, we've had 2 major shootings in Islamic mosques, one in the KZN, the other in the Western Cape. Why is no one talking about regulating Islam? Hey? Now, we have to rise and talk about those things. We want to find ourselves sitting in prisons. I don't mind sitting in prison. As Coach said, at least my children and grandchildren will know I did something about it. Pastor Doc.
Hallelujah.
Sanbona. Njani? Ngiyagwajisa mangitana. I would like to respond to things are happening in my spirit. I'd like to respond to 2 questions that were asked by gentlemen here on the floor. The first one was the Durban state of affairs. Asiqondeni lento. eThekwini kushubile.
Yes.
Umasipala uyatshela akatshelwa.
Yes.
Pastors are being invited to lunches bafidwe. This is the gospel of the stomach.
Yeah, it's true, gospel of the stomach.
People's souls are being bought by food. How do you preach about fasting? Oh, mauzo kichimela ukudla kwamasipala. I've been involved with another organization, Yabo Baba. I've been to Durban to organize abefundis from one of the largest fraternals. The last question was, uzoba nokudla yini? When the answer was given, that translated into the less numbers of men who were saying siyavuma. Mina ngicela ngiboleke ingqondo zenu. Ngiyazi ngiyakholwa lonke. Anginandaba nokholo lwenu. I just need your minds right now. Eyesibili i-question qhamuka kwena futhi indaba ye-offense. There is something called the spirit of offense. Uma udlalela kuleyo ndawo being offended njalo nje, you will never ever allow anybody to criticize you constructively.
Yes.
If you disallow people to criticize you constructively, awusoze uthole usizo in your entire life. Lo ushilo mfowethu, that's the truth. And what the enemy is doing, he is amplifying the spirit of offense so that Satan is offended. So uhlala unje ulinda umuntu akuoffende. The reason why ngithingiboleke inqondo zenu was purely because of what the enemy is trying to do through the municipalities. You see, there's a United Nations lapha. Below the United Nations, there's BRICS. I'm actually quoting what has been said here. There is a relationship between South Africa and the BRICS membership.
Yes.
And one of the other countries other than ours, kukhona president uyowahlaliswa apart. You can understand the spirit that goes across the entire spectrum.
Yeah.
So there is nothing new about what we see in our country today.
Amen.
The fact that, in fact, from where I am, Ekurhuleni, East Rand, church structures, they're already being destroyed. So when you read about something that is done in China, you think it's only Peshe. No, nana. Yes. So the Durban spirit is the same spirit that is in my area of residence. And no, Satan is not a human being. Satan is spirit as well. The satanic spirit that moves, it can rest in anybody that is willing to be used. So, I need your minds. And think standing on your feet. If it offends you, find the source. When it was a no-brainer. Churches can never be. Not shall not be, can never be. That is an absolute statement. So, I need to give everybody a space of kulula. And a seed, there is a principle, any seed that is being sown is expected to grow. They are not doing something they don't understand. When they do the things that we are accusing them of doing, they are sowing a seed. Because the seed principle says, it will be related to its source. And if the source is the municipality, our families, about this or easy to ever gazazi, the Malanchangasi, or Kumasi, or Takawapi. Also, Tabanga Jim, you must buy.
Amen.
I want us to live a life of understanding. And the seed, other than the fact that it must relate to its source, the seed must relate to its purpose of being. I expect you to do that, says me.
Yes.
Amen.
Unless we understand these realities. Because it is where we are caught. The minute we stop thinking is the day we start fudging and messing up. Unless we understand the predicament that we are in, we are not going to do anything constructive. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, whatever is being sown with your permission inside of you, check the source. If it's a CRL commission, no, they never had good intentions. Anything that is committee is religious. And anything religious is regulatable. Anything spiritual is not. No, we've been there, done it. Sisekiwe. Why? Because abazali bethu, they did not know any better. We do.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we? What have we done? Why are we here? We are not an organization. We can't, in the process of fighting a wealthy organization of the church, come in the name of any organization. Because then we are telling them that the church can operate outside the organizations. What brings us together is spiritually organic. The spirit binds us. I have 4 kids. The only agreement exists between their mother and I don't have written agreements with my children. But I also don't have any written contract with each other. But they call each other brother and sister. That's what binds the church. The church is bound by the Spirit. The church uses as its final authority the Bible, if it's church. We can't be church if the Bible is not the supreme writing in our life. And we say where we are, it's enough that we have the Bible. It's enough that we have the Spirit. We are saying, if it was prophesied that in the last days liars and deceivers and the immoral and the greedy will rise, when they do rise in fulfillment of prophecy, we can't run for regulating them. Does it give sense?
Yeah.
It gives perfect sense. It was prophesied that the last days, Paul used a very strong word, it would be perilous. Dangerous times would come. Now we're saying, Christ looked into the future and saw that, and said, let them grow together until judgment day.
Yes.
Now, but the servant said, no, we can sort this out now. We can separate the good from the bad. He says, you don't possess enough wisdom to do that. We shall leave it for the reapers in the end.
Amen.
We say any attempt at separating the true church from the false church is presumptuous. Let them grow together until judgment day. If they are breaking the law, the Bible tells us clearly to submit to authorities. Let the law take its toll. If they are breaking God's law, let God contend for himself. A secular state can never fight on behalf of a God it says does not exist. That's our stance. What have we done about it? One, information. We will never tire going around to inform the church.
Amen.
We'll never tire.
Amen.
Okay? We are on the road and we shall continue to be on the road. Because we think information is powerful. We think being here for the last 2 hours was a very powerful experience for all of us. Because we have been informed, and we thank you for inviting us out here. We have been informed. Information has empowered us, it has shaped our perspective, it has helped us contextualize the challenge, and it informs our way forward. We met on the 21st of March in Alberton, and we said, as a movement, the Anti-Regulation of Religion Summit, as a movement, a Christian collective, we bind ourselves to one, a declaration of good intent, and we call it the Alberton Declaration. And just as a reminder, I hope you've been taking names. Okay? We're going to send you all these documents. We're going to send you the Alberton Declaration, which is our code of conduct. We say we believe this is what we should stand for. Amen. As true sons and daughters of the Most High. And beyond this, we commit ourselves no further. Two, we're saying, we're on the road to let you know that You have constitutional rights. This is a constitutional battle on a different front, and a spiritual battle in another. And we are saying, if unsure, like somebody made him as a coach of the cop knocking on your door. If you are unsure, if anyone who wants any information from you is authorized to do so, it will never matter who comes. Let's say you get a call from the president today. Hey, Mvula, this is Cyril. Please, by Monday morning, I want all your church financial statements and utility house. If you're not sure, say to him, please get me a court order, and I shall give it to you. Did you get that one? Did you get that? It would never matter who it was. If you get any call, any visit, and they say, give us a list of these documents regarding your church, just say, please, go to keep order. Even if it's a policeman in full uniform, even if they're driving a Hawks, a car, even if they're driving public protector, just say, look, just to be sure, man, please give me a court order. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Please listen to me. Court says something very pertinent. Okay? And some of you know in the newspaper a few weeks ago. Somebody stepped up and said, show us your qualification. I said, no, it's none of your business. Simple. No, you must prove. I said, listen, I have nothing to prove. Just prove to me that you have authority to ask for that. Do not be in a habit of giving out information you don't have to give out. If they come and say, look, we want your church statement of faith, I said, okay, please get me a court order. If someone is not authorized to ask for it, don't give it even if you have it. People think you don't give it because you don't have it. But the question is, by what authority are you demanding it? Right now, they go to the rural areas. Give us a list of all, they did that in Kimberley, in one of our churches. Give us a list of all your members, their home numbers, their services. No, by what authority? There is nowhere the municipality. Get a court order. Give us a court order. Give us a court order. Go show us that the court has authorized you to ask for it. And when they do bring the court order, and you're not sure what to do with it, call us. Again, we're offering ourselves. We have 3 advocates and 2 attorneys in our group. If you go out there and lie one more time, we shall take you to court. What Munya is doing, I told him to his face, he's deceiving people. They go to the rural areas, they're telling people the church has been regulated. We are able, as an umbrella body, to get land for you and all that. Yeah, which umbrella? I mean, it's not like it's raining. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we are here to let you know the way forward. We are saying, right now, we've spoken to, as I said, we have advocates in our ranks, 3 of them, and 2 attorneys, and some of them are making Prima's office and all. We have said to them, look, can we fight this? They say there's nothing to fight. We can't go to court on a non-existent agenda. Because on paper, Parliament said this thing is unworkable, is unnecessary and unconstitutional. There is nothing to fight legally. Forewarned is forearmed. So we are sitting back. We are waiting for any indication of any sanity prevailing with the new commission. If they are as mad as the previous commission, we shall meet in court. There is one way this thing can go, is for the new commission to resubmit their recommendations to Parliament. They can't go another way. If they're not empowered by their portfolio committee, they can't take this further. They know where they are sitting, that they are sitting with a pipe dream. They know it's a pipe dream. It's a constitutional pipe dream. We are not the mad ones, they're the presumptuous ones. Regulation is unworkable, unnecessary, and unconstitutional. We're waiting for them to make submissions, new submissions to Parliament. They can never do it any other way. Don't worry about the noise, it's unfounded. They have an ally in the Women's Portfolio Committee in Parliament. Because women have been worked up emotionally by the Omotoso case. We said to them, that we are taking Omotoso to court is proof that we don't need regulation to deal with criminal elements in the church. Because if there were not enough laws or law enforcement agencies, we would never prosecute. Is it Bishop Dube who's doing 30 years? Is Dube, what is that Bishop? Is it Dube? Yeah. Ndaba. Bishop Ndaba is serving 30 years imprisonment for abusing young girls. Yeah. Can you see how unnecessary regulation is? How did we put him behind bars? There are laws and there are law enforcement agencies. There are laws. Already it's been served to the persona non grata a notice from the Department of Home Affairs. We are saying the doom pastor. You remember the Constitutional Court said? If it's harmful, the doom pastor violated the Pesticide Act, whatever, and he was convicted. There are enough laws. It's unnecessary. We are saying to you, we are waiting. We want not just to inform you, we want to keep in touch with you. In the event that there is action necessary. To say, look, we came to Newcastle. We don't want to introduce ourselves in the day of battle, you see. We want to be able to say to you, remember, as we said to you, this matter is progressing further. Now we have to fight. Then we'll ask the advocate, we ask them, guys, what can you do? At this stage, it's good that you have submitted a petition. But a petition means nothing. You don't need numbers, you need legal power. If this matter goes to Parliament, back to Parliament, there is no way, according to the Constitution, it will be slipped in privately. Parliamentary processes demand consultation. We shall know. There is no way we will know if they resubmit. Thirdly, we're here to notify that it's time to participate. If the October Consultative Forum at Rema takes place, we must go there. We have to go there in numbers. We have to go there and stand and say, look, we oppose that thing and these are the questions we have. We refuse to be part. We are here to mobilize you. We're mobilizing you for them. That process is unnecessary. But we are prepared to mobilize for them. That process that is taking place in October is unnecessary. Parliament is not expecting feedback from the religious community. If they send feedback, it will be feedback that includes objections. You understand what I'm saying to you? So we are here to let you know those things and to ask you lastly, mobilize others. Word of mouth is an African way. We speak over the fence and it goes to another city, another city, another city. Let's spread the word that nobody has a right to demand those things and to regulate you. And lastly, all the relevant documentation. Our petition, we have submitted a petition to Parliament, a new petition. To COPTA, we gave the Civil Rights Commission a copy. We are going to give you that copy. Read the petition, familiarize ourselves with the issues. The Alberton Declaration. We are going to even give you legal advice by some other institutions. We are going to give you all the documentation. Let's spread the word. We end here and ask if there are any comments or questions before we get a vote of thanks and we're on our way. Is that? Yes, yeah, that's beautiful. What we're going to do is, we have developed by local management here, a KZN anti-regulation group. All the names not in that group, Pastor Angola will feed between today and Monday. So that all matters related to KZN, we try to keep the group separate. Yeah, we give your names, and including the campaign in depth. Please, man, we beg you. We're driving here and I said to my wife and kids, it's strange that people say to me, no, Pastor Shibu is supporting you. I don't need support. It's as much your trouble as it is mine. We don't need your support. I mean, we're in trouble. It's a battle we will regret not fighting. But it's a battle, if we fight, we'll never lose. We'll never lose this battle. Yes, sir.
I want to talk to you something, and it might not be related to this.
Yeah.
But I received a message on my WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Like I said, it might not be related to this here. But it's talking about a lady in Parliament saying something to do with Angus Buchan and his tickets must be sold to the Zulus before it's sold to the whites.
Please, I've never heard of it. I'm coming to you, my brothers. So what was it? What's up about?
Okay, the lady's name is Beauty Komalo. Okay, you heard about that. Is that true? It says here, it says, okay, I won't read it says, in an initiative to advance racial integration in South Africa, the ANC government has proposed a bill to Parliament which states that all Angus Buchan's Mighty Men conferences must be representative of the population of South Africa. The proposal includes legislation that will force the sellers of these tickets to first sell 70% of all tickets to native Africans before tickets to be sold to white settlers. But is that true?
No.
There's something going on. Chairperson of Africans for Jesus. There's no such thing. Because Beauty Komalo is the chairperson of Africans for Jesus.
You know what? If such an issue did exist, it's completely unconstitutional. They could never force it. They could never force it. If it did exist, it would be. Then it must apply to all events. A music festival. X percentage of tickets must be sold to Africans. This is completely nonsensical.
Well, look, I have a few things to say. I wanted to wait until everybody had spoken. My name is Mqondisi. I'm from Newcastle. I've been following Pastor Gotu for quite a while now. Ijumo basically is the event. I'm sure that most pastors went to that event. And they come from as far as Devon and everywhere else. So it's quite unfortunate that you did not get as much support as perhaps you would have needed. But nonetheless, Tines Corner now, Sizwile. And I think our responsibility now is really to spread the word. I don't know, Babudumabudela spoke earlier on Fundis. I want to believe he can have a way of introducing Pastor Gotu and the whole movement to the Apostle Ejumwe. Some way, I'm sure you can find some way.
It's my brother who's chairperson.
So that, you know, because these events happen quite often. So you could have a slot 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes. That's a much bigger audience, and it's from all over in fact, I know some come from as far as other provinces. So I think that one will be important. And really, I don't want to belabor the points that were so aptly articulated here. But what this is all about is church capture. Somebody really captured it correctly. This is church capture. And it's our responsibility to fight it with everything we have. We must throw ourselves into it. Now this is the kind of battle, Daniel. No, if we go to bed,
That's it.
Yeah.
We're ready for it. And throw ourselves like that. So really, Bazalwane, I want to make this point that if perhaps this might well be our generational mission. I know what about politics or generational mission is economic freedom fighters. So economic freedom in our lifetime. Our generational mission as the church, our generational mission as the church may well be to fight this battle, to give it our all, and to say not in our lifetime. It will not happen for as long as we live. And I think we are blessed that we have the law on our side this time. The law is on our side. And we've got to use it like Paul did. You remember Paul when he was going through the trials. There's a time when, even though this was not, in Manekas, he was being persecuted for the gospel. But Paul found refuge in the fact that he was a Roman citizen. And at the time, the law provided special privileges for Roman citizens. So his case moved around because he actually used them. So we've got the Constitution in this instance, which gives us the right to freedom of religion, freedom of association, etc., etc. So we really need to capitalize on that. But I'm not a speaker. But I think that the reason why I stood up was precisely to say thank you so much for all the efforts. We really need to spread the word. Thank you.
Pastor, I want to respond to that.
Let me just try to answer something that you may said. Number one, we spoke with Uspiwe Mbuli of Mjugomo, which I person recall. Yes, we spoke with him. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but for some reasons, even for the benefit that I personally am from Bloemfontein, leading a church here, working with leaders locally here, well, there are so many differences in all spheres. But I must say that it hasn't really been easy, especially to identify people that are or those who are not for anti-regulation. There are quite a number of questions that I've actually encountered when trying to talk to different fraternals, different servants of God. Some of them were supposed to be here, but I received message this morning that some were not going to make it because they will be associated. So I just want to say, to be honest, they are fully aware of the fact that we are here and this is happening. It is not like they don't know. Even Umfundi Suswani, the one that is responsible for Amajuba, we also said with him, because we felt that it is really necessary to use all the angles that we could so that we can get the message across. Therefore, everybody is aware. Hence, they even suggested that since to them it came as a short notice, especially Abu Mfutuzwane, they said no. Rather, after this meeting, ask the whole delegation if there can be something that could be arranged for the whole of KZN, whereby they can take it and also try to run with it, but without stealing it away from the visionaries of the whole thing. So I'm simply trying to say they are fully aware, and in fact, not only being aware, but some, to be honest, they've been threatened not to attend this meeting. So we are here, we are continuing. I also made Amufunesuko to aware of the situation around here. We don't fight anyone, but we are fighting the battle for the work of the Lord. I think maybe when my time comes, I'll also try to highlight some, but I just wanted to say that you can at least know that they know. Maybe we'll hear from them when they are, or rather after the whole thing.
Baba, I have been in Cape Town for 8 years. I'm a Zulu. You see, in Cape Town, Xhosa. But I never changed my language because Zulu is the original. When I came here in KZN, I've been born in KZN in Danhauser. I never see, little bit confused, man, because of the food stomach. So what I'm trying to say, I do have a database for all Ichubumo, because the chairperson is my 90. So I already sent this message to him to say you just will chase you away from home. So Baba, in terms of Yuki, let's keep in our wallet. You will have a shame of 20 hours. Let's keep in our wallet. And when I say assemblies of God, assemblies of God is keeping money. They try to our billions. It's danger for the man. I'm going to sort it for the man. I was putting my wallet. So I need to say, I'm buying Sally Fangate. He can't manage a wallet who can't be Fangate. What I'm trying to say, Baba, we want now everybody to have a best so that you can bless these people. Have a best. So we start from 100, we go down. You go down and bless, because this evangel, it won't go without money. It has speak the truth. It has financed this thing. It has financed. Lastly, Baba, can you speak as a baby machine? And it's about your premium, I send cash here. It's about your premium interfaith. Confusion interfaith. So, I think I'm going to have license to was good memory. Or I'm full tomorrow. We don't know Pastor Richard Bull. We don't know song in the chair.
One comment before I ask Pastor Vula to come here. Okay.
I greet you in the wonderful name of Lord Jesus. My name is Michael Mhango, in Newcastle. Originally I come from Malawi. What I would like to thank you very much. Your presentation has been very excellent, especially the way you have put everything. Another thing that is a big problem is that when there's a problem, we always point foreigners to say this thing is coming with foreigners. But the way you have presented has made me to like to be part of this. Amen. Because all the time, we people coming from outside the country, it is like we run away from our countries because of hunger or problems there. And yet the Bible says, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. Amen. I'm here not because I run away from my country. My country, we are doing very well. But I'm here because of the way it says go into all the country, into all the world. We are doing very well, we have got everything in our country, we have got food, but just because of the gospel, we are here. And now, this part of seeing people coming from outside, like the people who are coming to destroy South Africa, I think it is untrue. But this, the way you are presenting it, it is very excellent. And people, they don't know that there is international relations between South Africa and Malawi and other countries. So you put it very well, and we can understand that immigration must deal with these issues. When you see somebody who is a foreigner and is misbehaving, then there is a Home Affairs that is supposed to deal with that person. There is SAPS that is supposed to deal with that issue. Then we begin to condemn somebody because it has crossed the borders. Then you find people, they become reserved. But at the same time, how many times do we try to say foreigners, but still foreigners are coming in. Foreigners are going forward and are being established and planting churches, and the churches are growing. So I think this presentation, don't forget, continue and educating people and enlightening the people to say no. It's not the foreign nationals. A foreign national can do something wrong, even a national can do something wrong. So we are here, all of us, to present the gospel. We are also saying that we are saying no, the church cannot be regulated by the government, because we have been sent by God. For me personally to be here, the government of Malawi did not send me to be here, but God sent me here. He said, go into all the world. So it is very excellent the way you are really presenting this issue. then it will make us live at peace. I really thank you very much. May God bless you.
You see, a lot of us would never be quick to label any African foreign on Africa because we are also missionaries in other African countries. We are working in a lot of other African countries outside South Africa. You know, so we remember everywhere we say applies to us as soon as we leave Ouartambo. Okay, there were two hands here. If you have not given us your name and contact details for us to forward you and the information and to put in the group, please do so. Okay.
Amen. My name is Elijah. I'm from Newcastle, but I was born in Shawa. Yes. Before I comment, I want to read from Acts chapter number 4, verse number 18 to number 20. So they called Peter and John in again and told them not to speak or to teach at all in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered them, "You decide what God will want. Would we obey you or God? We cannot keep quiet." That is verse number 20. We cannot keep quiet. We must speak about what we have seen and heard. Often they say, I believe we are called by God. And I believe there is no one who has a right to tell us what we must preach. Again, the other thing that I wanted to comment about, we as preachers or ministers, we have so many differences amongst ourselves. I believe, I must say this, that I think we must put aside our differences and not take them to the public, because whatever that Tina as abafundisi esilwa ngakho, like if I don't believe in what you do, then we fight about that, then sithathe sibeke ku public lento ibanikeza amandla. I believe we must unite for the sake of the gospel of Jesus Christ, then deal with our differences in our closet. Singayi public siyodila neyinkinga zethu that we have thina ngaphakathi as Christians. I think that will help us, Baba. Thank you so much.
Okay, I saw the last two hands, one and the other one, and we shall be calling Pastor Angela. Please move to the front here.
I just needed to share a word of encouragement. The local ministers. Jesus. Philip met Jesus before Nathanael. When Jesus was in the process of building a king. And Philip gave Nathanael Jesus' CV. He said, the one whom Moses spoke about, come see him. The one whom the prophets spoke about, come. I put it to you, men of God, women of God, that without the CV, which is the source of our inspiration, we'll have a lot of irrelevant things to say. My prayer, having walked through that door, is I pray that the Philips of this place are in this house now. Amen. Because Nathanael is the one in whom Jesus said, the one in whom there is no guy. Now, Laba, who are allegedly threatened to have not come, for them to not make it here, the day they hear this and they see the CV, which is being verbalized, it is easier for them to see the bigger picture. Not because you said it, but because they believe in the one who made you say the things that you've confessed now. Thank you.
The last part. And then Pastor Bola is already. Hey? Hey man, don't blame me, man. Now we are too black.
Amen.
Get this light like this.
The thing is worse, there's light in it.
Oh, I see. You're behind the light.
Yeah, no, thanks, Pastor Godby. Greetings. Look, I'm not going to be long.
My name?
My name is Slim Tebe. Yeah, I'm the. I just love our Constitution. It protects you as well when you're being attacked. I'm the one guy who commented on your post to say, by the way, 16.2 of our Constitution says it gives you a sacrosanct right, even to impart information. It's your right. You're not compelled. You see. So maybe in closure, you see, we are a community as we are here. And the fundamental right, powers or primary objectives of the CRL is to promote and protect religious rights of religious communities. You see, the point will start when we want to recognize ourselves according to their definition of what is Christianity. Because the fact that we have categorized ourselves as a community within communities of a religious group called Christianity, then we are entitled by the Constitution to be protected by CRL. In actual fact, CRL cannot rise against us because we have categorized ourselves as a religious community that doesn't want to be regulated. Now, by law and by the Constitution, CRL therefore is obligated to protect our religious interest, because now we are a religious community which doesn't define themselves according to their terms and their definition. We are, that is why in the Bible some Christians were called the way, those of the way. Others decided to call them Christians. Whoever and however you define us, but we define ourselves as a community that subscribes to the Bible, but that doesn't want to be regulated. So in terms of the Constitution, therefore, CRL have to protect our right. They can't rise against us because that's violation of the Constitution. They are failing to discharge their fundamental responsibility, which is to protect the religious right of the religious communities. That is why the Constitution, when they're drafting it, they were careful that they said religious communities, because they can vary and advance, transform and change at any given time. But as long as they classify themselves as a class that is religious, whatever that they advance and purport for, it needs to be protected by CRL. Okay. Now, Comrade Bazarwan, may I just go through this quickly? What are these rights that we are enjoying? Now, these are the rights that I want us to remind ourselves of. The Constitution assures us the following as our rights that CRL must protect. Section 15 says, everyone has a right to freedom of conscience, religion, thought, belief, and opinion. Now, it goes on to say, but these rights, this is what only limits the limits that are on this right. It's under section 16(2)(b), and I mean C, which says, advocacy of hatred that is based on race, ethnicity, gender, and religion, and that constitute incitement to cause harm. You see, your religion, you can only exercise it as far as it doesn't incite any cause of harm.
Yeah.
If I'm giving you Christ, who will liberate you in your situation, if I'm saying, Lalela, move out of that, because maybe it's the sin in there that is giving you a problem, I'm not inciting any harm in actual fact. As long as what you advance in the name of religion is not inciting harm, you are constitutional. You are constitutional. Now, it go on to affirm the following. It says, section 30, person belonging to a cultural, religious, or linguistic community may not be denied the right with other members of the community to enjoy their culture, practice their religion, and the use of their language. You see, we've got a language like we've got the language of the Bible that we are using, and we've got the right, and it's protected. If the Bible says, if the Bible is prescriptive to say infidelity is infidelity, don't say I'm harming you. I'm using the language of my religion. You see, and it needs to be respected. The Constitution says it's your right to protect. Your right is protected to use the language of your community. It's in the Constitution. If the Bible look, it's Bible. So it's protected. I'm not harming anyone. I'm using the language of my community and of my religion. It's protected. Yo. Now I'm trying to do this in the vocabulary. At the end of the day, we are protected. You say these things without fear. Say it as long as it's in the language of the Bible. Say it. Now it goes on further to say, everyone has the right to use the language. That's 31, section 31, under the Bill of Rights. Everyone has the right to use the language and to participate in the cultural life of their choice, but no one exercising the right may do in a manner inconsistent with the provision of the Bill of Rights. And that is what? Inciting to cause harm. If you have to take me to court, you need to prove how did I incite it. Those people were already been incited, they were literally harmed. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to affirm that, to say we have defined ourselves as a community within a community. Who told them we belong to those kind of Christians? We don't belong in the definition of Christians. We belong in the definition of Christians that says we shall not be regulated. Therefore, protect that right. That we don't want to be regulated. If they want to be regulated, it's their right. Protect that right as well. But leave us with our right. We don't want to. It's our constitutional right as a religious community, as per the Constitution. Amanda Bazarwa.
Here is our last contribution. Then Pastor Bola again.
No, I forgive you, Chief. No, bazalwane ngifuna ukukhuluma ngendaba yaseDurban. I-comment yami emanates from ama-comment kamfundisi. Mayisuke endabeni yentshukumo. That will never work for us. La eThekwini ngaziwa njengomuntu omncane odelelayo, yes. Because I say it as it is sometimes. And what we stand for is not worthy abantu who does not believe genuinely the same as we do in the Bible. We must first admit that. So if we go to Durban, obviously we are targeting those individuals whom we know ukuthi if sibanikeza if usiba mobilizer for this cause, bazofika kuyo and be loyal kuyo. But all those charismatics and Pentecostals, I don't even join those things. Those movements, yes. Yes, ngabizelwa lokho emhlanganweni ukuthi ngathi lezo they want, those are big guys, friends of Ray McCall, those guys are big. They're all for power and money. So mobilizing them will be fighting and losing back. We need to find guys about genuinely as we are to the cause of Christ and stick to them. We don't need numbers. We don't need numbers. So chasing numbers won't help us. But if econ inside, everything we got, I send the show what is it called. When we decide to go to Durban, we are not expecting masses. But if Labantes in the show, which they will bring value to the cause. Buy back and move forward. Thank you, sir.
Amen. I'm going to give to Pastor Mvola is going to say, and he'll introduce Pastor Harold Smook. And Pastor Doc, we spoke about this. We said October we have the 12th and or the 19th, right? So we shall talk to the Durban gentlemen about the 12th or the 19th of October. And that's the date we had open May. Okay? And we could sacrifice our initial plans. I don't know, we shall talk. Talk about 12th or 19th of October. And before Friday, let us know which date could be nicer. And then we shall discuss it among ourselves. But we had reserved the 12th or the 19th October. Because the 24th of September, coach, we're in the Valne. Sure.
I think Saturday is not good.
Really?
Because most of us, we are very...
But they're fighting these guys. But you know what? They're fighting these guys right now. We have a session on the 21st of August in Soweto next week, on Wednesday. People are complaining that they want...
The best time is Saturday, maybe 3 o'clock. So we can go and bury and we get one.
Hola. So we want to thank you from our side. Pastor Mvula is about to talk, and after his talk, he's going to talk, call one of things, Pastor Harold Smook. The people who have come here, we really appreciate it. Okay? Some of us come a long way geographically. Others come a long way organizationally. And you know that you cross far more boundaries than we did. There's never any summit you've gone to that people said, I was told not to come here. So we appreciate your coming. Okay? When this is done within the next few minutes, we're going to ask the Gauteng and Limpopo guys just to remain here. We're going to talk to you before you return. Thank you so much.
To all servants of God that are here, and also the leadership, of course, of Grace Community Church, Uncle Robbie, thank you very much for allowing us, and also not only to give us this opportunity, but also to personally attend. It means a lot to us. I just want to say the following. In fact, all of things have been said here, but I was a bit shocked to see that there are people that asked me serious confrontational questions. I thought they'd be here also to really ask their questions for, for clarity. But unfortunately, I did not see them here. And I believe that there is no organization that can stand without taking criticism. Therefore, we need to be criticized so that we can prepare much better and we can become better. Amen. Well, I'm standing here not to say much, and also maybe some say, oh, you're the last speaker. Most of the time, our conference churches, last speakers are really powerful speakers. I'm not here as a speaker. I'm here just really to acknowledge you as a KZN coordinator, or rather the side of KZN. Amen. Now, I want to say the following, especially to the servants of God that are here. Amen. Especially on what we are talking about, that we cannot afford to be silent as a church. We cannot be the silent majority, because South African Christians are the majority in this country more than any other religion. We cannot afford to do that. Secondly, we can also not afford to be neutral. It is a danger when a man of God, because even the Bible says that you need not to be in the middle. You're either hot or cold. Therefore, I know that as I'm standing here, there are those that are here, servants of God, of course, and leaders in their capacity, but finding that they are neutral, they don't know where they fall. We want to correct that stand and say, please, rather be hot or be cold. This is a serious matter. For obvious reasons. Psalms chapter 138, verse number 2, God says, I have elevated my weight above my head. Amen? Hebrews chapter 10, verse number 7, it says, for the volume of this book, it is written about me. Why am I quoting those two scriptures? I'm saying, if we are going to allow whatever institution that has been ordained by government to put us in a corner as a church, it is a simple way of allowing ourselves out of our jobs as pastors. I'll repeat that again. I'm saying it is going to be very simple to be voted out of what God has called us to do as pastors. Because if I can just only give you a simple example, I think it is the former Minister of Justice, when they passed that bill of 8 crimes, one of the things that they highlighted was hate speech, also sexual orientation. And let me be honest with you, the homosexual activists, they took an opportunity and they ran with it. Hence, they want to make sure that number of things that we are upholding, especially as ministers on our platforms, must be edited from the Bible, not from the pulpit. And if that is going to be the case, then it simply means a whole of things would need to be edited even in the Bible that we are having. I want to say to you, we cannot be silent. If we are going to be silent on these matters, then we might as well quit the jobs, if it is a job, of being called by the Lord. Then we are in wrong occupations. Even those that are not here, I wish that they can get even this video, so that they can hear everything that was uttered in this place. For them to familiarize themselves with the truth, rather than hide it because of some certain voices. I think it's high time that in Africans they say, so we must come to a place whereby we're taking a very clear stand, especially when dealing with matters like this. The other speaker said, let us put our doctrinal positions and stances aside, and let us stand for one thing that unifies us, which is to become a united voice, for silencing the very voice that wants to say to us, we must be regulated. So with those words, I'm going to sit down, but before I do that, I'm going to ask Umkhetsmook to come also and do the acknowledgements. Umkhetsmook is from TCN, the Christian Network. He's in Utrecht. That is where he's leading the church. Amen.
And take offering, Baba.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. one of the other brothers before speaking said he doesn't know why he's standing here. Maybe it's because he's coming from afar. Now, I'm also wondering, maybe it's because I'm an Umlungu. We are all brothers. Amen. But I just want to thank Pastor Ngula and his team for organizing this event, really, from the bottom of my heart. And also, Brother Shirmi, this was really a clear and systematic presentation. And I liked your opening statement where you said that we're not only against regulation of religion, we're also against self-regulation. You know, recently there have been a lot of abuses by pastors in the church, both on different levels, physically, mentally, and financially abusing their congregants. And that has received a lot of media attention. And initially, when I read all this, I felt maybe it would be a good thing that there would be a body that the church can self-regulate itself. However, I very soon realized that this is a scheme of the enemy. And the Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and wickedness in high places. And as one of the speakers also mentioned, we are not ignorant of these devices. So I'm glad we really thrashed this out. And we want to say to you, we are with you 100%. There's something else that I need to mention. One of the brothers here mentioned that it is our right to speak out, because in the Constitution, our right of freedom of speech is enshrined. But as he also mentioned, in the Constitution, what is also enshrined is that we're not allowed to say things that are offensive or harmful. And that is open to interpretation. Recently, especially the homosexual, shall we call them, community or whatever, they have been running with this. I know of a number of court cases where pastors have been taken to court and Christian writers. There's an Afrikaans Christian writer by the name of Greta Piet. She wrote a book for teenagers. And in this book she said that that homosexualism is wrong. It's unbiblical and it's a sin. She was taken to court. Eventually it was settled out of court because she undertook to take this out of her booklet. Yes, unfortunately she gave in. Another pastor was taken to court because he made a statement at a school where he addressed the school, and he said God did not. I'm sure you've heard the statement. He said God did not make Adam and Steve, he made Adam and Eve. He was taken to court because it was harmful and it was offensive to the homosexual community. And you see, they want to reinterpret the Constitution. Specifically the section on offensive and harmful speech. So we need to realize there is a war. We are in a war. I don't want to say much more, but we will fight it. And I say we cannot regulate religion or even self-regulate. Our regulation is the Bible itself. And Scripture, and that's it. And I also agree that there are enough laws so that when people transgress the law, they can be taken to court. And then I want to just close by saying that it was also mentioned, I think, by Pastor Shimi that or maybe the second speaker, that he was told that we shouldn't fight prophecy because in end times there will be perilous times. However, Jesus said that we must occupy until he comes. And that means we must stand for what the Bible teaches. We must stand for the gospel until he returns. Even though it means that we could land in jail. But thank you everyone. But I believe that we should really spread this word that every pastor should become aware, especially of what Parliament has said, and of what they recommended, this commission recommended, that we know who they are, and that we are not ignorant. You know, the Bible says that my people go astray because of lack of knowledge. And we need to bring this knowledge to every pastor.